Welcome, everybody. This is Jason, and the name of this week's workshop is Slots, a Spacetime Odyssey. This is part 2, or building the slots. So let's have a look. So in last week's workshop, we learned what are slots, what are container slots specifically. We learned how to add bone names to the str, how to add nodes to the crest, and how to find a slot's 3D coordinates and enter them into the crest. This week we'll be adding slots to the slot resource. So to do that, the first step is select the slot in the resource tree. Then once again in the resource list, and you can see that there's only one slot here, but we will get to that later. In the slot plugin, it's going to look something like this. You've got a container, and a cool feature about 7.5.69 and 7.7.69 specifically is that you have this new clone feature. So it will just copy all of the properties of a slot down to the next one that you add. If you were just to click add, for example, it would create a new container, but all of the properties would be blank. So to edit each slot, we would start with the values up on top. So you look at the drop down. If you just added it instead of cloning it, make sure that it's set to container. And then all of from float 1 to I5, if you added it, just copy them from the slot that you cloned, or if you cloned it, just leave it as is. And then we would do the same thing on the first tab there, the version 0x05 plus. We just copy the values of the float 4, 5, and 6 and int 6. We move on to the next tab, and short 1 is almost always 0. Short 2, just make sure that that's a 2. And then on the next tab, just copy it from the parent slot, or if you cloned it, it's already good to go. And then the int7 value, this one is a little bit difficult to explain. This is the one that tells us what type of slot it is. So if you look at the table, for example, if you're creating a posing slot for Sims like an OMSP, the int7 value is 1. 2 is coffee table, 3 is dining room, 4 is counter, 5 is meal prep, 6 is in the Sims hand, 7 is seating, 8 is end table, or this is just the standard shorthand slot that we use when we're creating just a random deco slot. And then we've got 9 is in counter, 10 is under counter, 11 is decorative, 12 is driveway, 13 is OFB shelf. For the purpose of this workshop, the only one that we're going to focus on is 8, which is end table.
So is there a difference between end table and deco?
No, the 11 slot 11,
Yeah.
this is like the shelves, the souvenir shelves on the walls. Those use
Oh,
11, but functionally it's exactly the same as 8. In the example, we're changing the int7 value to 8, just regular old end table slot. And then for 9, we just copy that down from the parent, or if you cloned it, it's already there. And then float 8, just copy it down, or it's already there. And then the int9 value is a little bit tricky to explain. So we're looking for the decimal value, not the hexadecimal value of the bones that we added last week. So in this example, we're looking at 6 and 7. So then those are the ones that we would add to the I9. And then the I10 is the numerical order in which the game actually sees the slots in the object. So you pop a deco object into the slot, and the I10 is going to determine which one it hits first. So is it the one on the top of the table? Is it the one below the table? That's what the I10 does. So once you've edited all of the properties in the slot, then you just commit and save. Now, if you have a multi-tile object, this is a little bit complicated. So we make sure first that we have a slot to correspond to the other tile. If you don't, you just clone the existing slot, and then in the resource tab, change the value so that it's the next highest number. You select the OBJD in the resource tree and the one that you want to coordinate with the slot in the resource list. So each OBJD can be coordinated to a different slot. We go to the raw data tab. We make sure that it's set to decimal. And then we collapse the first 6 sections. And in section 7, if you go down to slots ID, this is the one that it coordinates to. So if you want to coordinate it to a different slot than 128, you would make the edit there and then just commit, save, and you're good to go. And then testing and troubleshooting. So in this case, it was just, in this example, I was just making a corner shelf. The actual deco slots, they're offset 45 degrees on the Y. So when you pop it in game and then pop some deco objects on it, that's what it looks like. Hey folks, just a brief note on this one. When I was recording the demonstration bit of the workshop, I forgot to switch scenes. So it is a little bit jarring. It switches suddenly from the regular workshop scene to the workshop with camera scene, and I do apologize for that. But it wouldn't be a workshop without technical issues, and I am still getting used to recording in this new format. Let's have a look at where we were last week. So we added all of these slots. Now, Deco 2 through Deco 10. So 9 new slots are going to be on the right tile. And then Deco 11 through Deco 17 are going to be on the left tile. So how does that look in Bones? We go to the STR. We go to the model Bones STR in the resource list. So Deco 2, let me get my trusty notepad. Where do I have that? Deco 2. The I9 value should be 5. And then Deco 10, which is the last one on the right, we're looking at the decimal value, not the hex value. So the decimal value for Deco 10 is 13. And then the first one on the left tile, Deco 11, we know that that's going to be 14. And we go all the way to Deco 17, which has a decimal value of 20. Okay, those are what we need to add in the slot. And let's go to the slot resource. So you can see we've got 128 and 129. So before we add the slots to those, let's coordinate them. So we go to object, the OBJD in the resource tree, and we go to the 0 tile first. This is the one on the right. Make sure that that's decimal. And let's just collapse the first 6 categories. So the slots ID for the left tile, the 0 tile, is 128. Then if we look at the 1 tile, the slots ID is 129. So do we need to do any more editing here?
What about the other one, the 1 by 1? in the
So-
OBGA or
It's hard to explain without a model, but if you look at this, has a little bit to do with footprint editing.
Oh.
So you can see this one, if you look at section 6 here, this one doesn't do anything. It has this is the master tile. So if you have a multi-tile object, you always need to have a master OBJD. This, if you look at slots ID, isn't coordinated with anything. So if you have, I will try to explain this to you, but it would be helpful to have like a diagram, and maybe someday I'll do a footprints workshop. So if you're looking, for example, at Milkshape, you've got a grid with 3 axes on it. Yeah. So the 0, 0, this is 0 on the X and 0 on the Y. And the way that looks in section 6 here, this is a sub. Okay, we know this is a subtile, or no, sorry, we're looking at the master here. So the master doesn't have subtiles, so it's going to have a value of 0 here. But if we look at tile 0, for example, but then if you look at 0, 1, which is 0 on the X, so it's the same position on the X, but it's 1 tile to the left. That one is going to say
56. Yeah,
that's what it should be. So you've got a 0 and you've got a 256.
I got a -1 and a 256, even though it's the same item that you gave me.
That's strange. Okay. No, because I uploaded it right from, so
yeah. Should I change it to 0?
Are you looking at the master, or are you looking at the one that says 0, 0?
0, 0?
The sub index should be 0.
The sub index under section 6.
Section 6 should be
0. It is 0. I don't know.
Okay.
I was looking at the other one.
So that one, if you go down to section 7, it should say 128.
Section 7. For slot?
Yeah. It should be linked to the 128 slot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they're 128, 129.
So, okay, so you confirmed that the second one is coordinated with 129? 0, 1 should be coordinated to, okay. Okay.
That's
so
right.
Then we're good to go. We don't need to do any more editing. So go to slots and then select the one that's 128. So we can see we've got a container and 2 routing slots. And my CMPE is just, for some reason, ever since I switched to Windows 11, the display is just really cramped for no reason. But anyway, select the container. And in this case, because we've already got 1 slot and we want 10 slots total on this tile, just click that clone link 9 times. No, I think I went too far.
Unfortunately, I don't have that on mine.
You don't have, but you're running 7.5.69. It should be there.
I delete an ad.
I'll show you what happens. So if you select this and click add, do you see the difference?
It just adds all zeros?
Yes.
So I should copy the...
It's easier to
Value.
clone it, but if your only option is to add, then you would need to copy all of those down. So you would just, for example, I'm adding a slot here. I just click add, and then on the parent, we'll copy this one and we paste it here, and then we copy all of those are zeros up to int5 is -1, and then we paste the int5 here, and you can see how it's a little bit more tedious.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's mess with the slots. So we don't want to edit anything here. We just need to coordinate it. So our first slot, the coffee table slot, has an I9 of 0. And an I10 of 1. So it's the 0 position or the first line of the STR. And it's the first slot that the game sees. And the I7 value here is 2, or coffee table. And just for grins, where is the I7? I'm going to change that to 8. And I'm just going to change that to 8 all the way down, because that's deco. It doesn't really matter. You can leave it as coffee table if you like, but I'm just going to, for the purpose of this workshop, I'm just going to change them all to 8. Okay, so we go back, we established that 0 and 1 is our first, and then we go to the first container that we added, and we're looking for this 0x40 plus tab. And this is where we find the I9 and the I10. The I9 for deco 2 is 5. And the I10 is 2, because it's the second slot. Wait, we've already got a 2 and we've already got a 5. So scratch that. Let's make that. Okay, we've already got 5. So the next one sequentially would be 6. It really doesn't matter because the other 2 are routing slots, but just for consistency, we'll do 6. So the next one, we know that's going to be 6, and the int 10 would be 7. And then the int 9 here is 7 and 8. And then 8 and 9. And we just keep going. 9 and 10. And then 10 and 11. 11 and 12.
I was wondering, where'd you get all the containers? Did you just clone them, or do they already have them?
I cloned the first line. And then here, so 11 and 12. So then we go 12 and 13. So we know that, let's go back to our notepad so that we know that deco 10, 12, and 13. So deco 11 needs to pick up from there. So we commit 128 and we go to 129. We can see there's already a container. We just need to modify this value. So deco 11 needs to be 14 and 15. No, that's wrong. It needs to be, so deco, the I9 on deco 10 was 12. So on deco 11 needs to be 13, and that's going to be the 14th position. Then let's clone that 6 times because on the left side we have 7 slots. One more. Then we just need to mess with these. So 13, 14. So this one is 14 and 15. And this one is 15 and 16. And that one is 16 and 17. (17 and 18). 18 and 19. And 19 and 20. Did I do that correctly? Let's find out. Let's give that a quick commit, and let's hop down to the str because I think I might have messed up. Okay, no, deco 17 is hex value 20. So if we go back up to the slots, that 129 slot, so something ain't right. Because that should end in 20. Okay, I see what I did. I missed a slot. So on the one side, it should go to up to 13 and 14. And then
So
here,
what was it?
Sorry, go ahead.
So in the numbers, it goes from 1 to 2, and it skips 3, 4, and 5. Or is that just routing?
Those are routing slots. I mean, I wouldn't delete them because then the sim might not be able to get to the object. But
okay,
I normally just go off. So what I'm doing, we've already got the coffee table slot, yeah, because this was cloned originally from a coffee table. So I added 9 nodes on the right and 7 nodes on the left. So on the right, we've got, if we look at the I9 for Deco 2, it starts at 5. So the I9 values start at 5. And then because we've got a routing slot here in position 5, then the best thing to do with the containers is to start them at 6. So, I mean, we're going sequentially. I don't know what happened to 3 and 4. They're not there, but it's best not to mess with them. You know what I mean? So just go in order. It wouldn't, like, it's not, at the end of the day, it's not going to hurt anything. So 128, we ended with an I9 of 13. So 129, we don't start with 13. We need to start with 14 and 15. And then this one becomes 16 and 17. No, that's wrong. 15 and 16. And that was... Why am I making life difficult? I can just delete that and then add one to the end. So that one is 20 and 21. Just like that. Are we clear on the slot? Do we have any other questions on the slot resource? The numbers are a little bit tricky.
So you're saying those routings, I can just delete those?
No. No, because then the sim might not find the object. I would just leave the routing slot as is. Sim might not find the object. I would just leave the routing slot as is. Actually,
Is there?
timeout.
I guess.
On the 129 tab, the routing already well. Oh, that's where the 3 and 4 went. So no, don't mess with it.
Yeah, I was wondering why there was 2 routings on one of those slots and then 1 routing. Like,
I'm not sure. Honestly, I wouldn't mess with it because it might hurt the way that the sim finds the coffee table. You know what I mean?
okay.
Might be the center of the table, no? I guess there should
Possibly.
be one routing slot on the left or right, and then the other
In the
tile will
middle.
have like one routing for the side and one for the center, because the center should be on either one tile or the other, but not on both.
Right. And like Maxis might have left it in for that reason. And yeah, I mean, I would not recommend messing with the routing slots. Just leave them as is.
Okay. So in theory, I understand what you did. But since I don't have the cloning thing and I don't want to like take an extra 15 minutes to clone everything or manually write it out, I don't have what you have.
Yeah, you would copy and paste every single value there. Except the I9 and I10.
Yeah. So in theory, I know what you did.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
You said it needed to end at 20, so the end value is the I9 and not the I10?
The I10 is the order that it appears in. So, for example, here, this container has an I10 value of 1, and then we've got 2, and then 3 is on the other tile, and then 5. And so the slots that I added, I started at 6.
Yes.
And that is just like the I10. So when you place, like if you have multiple slots on the same tile, if you place an object, it's at the lowest. If you place an object, the first item that you pop into that object, it's going to go to whatever is assigned to 1, and then 2, and then 3. So this is
it's the order of the slot placement. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. And I think that's it. I think we're ready to test in game. In game, we find just a regular deco object that you can put on an end table. Let's do this soap dispenser. So we got 1, we got 2, 3, 4. Yep, they're all in the right position. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so the right side works perfectly so far. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And there it is. All of the like researching the positions of the slots in Blender is a little bit tricky, and entering them into the crest is a little bit tricky. The math on the actual slot can be a bit of a challenge, but with practice, you can add slots to practically any surface. And that's it.